Please wait, the meeting host will let you in soon. But I'll one of them.
Awesome. Got you. Can you hear me?
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now.
Good afternoon, ladies, and welcome. This is very dire times for all of us. So Sabina is joining us a little bit later for the training for leadership for women in the 21st century. So welcome to all of you, and it's such a pity that we cannot be together and share and, you know, just be in each other's company. But this is now the next step to carry on with the work that we need to do. So thank you so much for setting this time aside to be with us. Again, with the lockdown that has just occurred, Sabina could unfortunately not join me here in the studio today. So she's coming in via Zoom on the video because she's on the farm. Thank you so much. And there will be time for questions and everything. And there's also a PowerPoint presentation that you guys can view. And please remember that everything will be available later on via recording, and it will also, the PowerPoint will also be uploaded. So I will make sure that you have all the necessary links, and you're more than welcome to share with colleagues and friends and put the word out there for what we're doing with Katuka. I'm going to put it across to Sabina now. And Sabina, I trust you are safe and you're on the farm with the animals. Lucky you. We're here in stressful Windhoek. I just went into town to grab a quick cup of coffee, and it was like chaos. I don't know if everybody's running to the shops again to buy stuff, but yes. And then of course for the queues, everything takes twice as long. But here we are, and we're doing the training. So thank you so much, because this is what this whole training session is going to be about, sharing of how to operate in this new environment. Thank you, Sabina.
Okay, am I on? Am I on?
Yes, you can go.
Can I start? Okay. Hi, everybody. Hello. Be most welcome. Very exciting. Hi, Desiree. It's beautiful that in these days we can still see each other and kind of feel connected and everything. Hi to everybody out there. As Desiree said, I'm on the farm. The animals are around me, so if the dogs bark, please excuse them. Every now and then they do something. Yes, I'm safe, and I hope that you are all safe. And if you are stressed, please go back to the presentation that we did. Was it in May? Was it in April? It is really, really imperative that you look after your stress levels, that you look after your health, that you look after the balance, that you do stay positive. And believe me, it's not an easy feat at the moment, in a moment where we cannot plan and nothing. So welcome to today's seminar together. Let me quickly go in, because at this stage I can't see the my PowerPoint presentation. I just need to go back in there. Sorry for that. I don't know what happened, because otherwise we cannot start. But I can start already in a more. Let me quickly just go in. Sorry for that. Okay, there we are. There we are. I've got it back there. Right. Although the topic is leadership in the 21st century, I have adapted this PowerPoint to the immediate times that we are in now. And I have given it the subtopic, what does leadership mean in a time of crisis? And we are in a time of crisis. So let's have a look at the first slide. I want to point out to you, and this is, to me, it's very exciting, that I have based this whole PowerPoint on something that was written and researched on the 4th of August 2020. So it couldn't be more recent, it couldn't be more to the point, it couldn't be more relevant than it gets. It's based on Sue Bingham, and let's have a look at how leaders can adapt to uncertain times. Before I start, I want to point out two things. I'm going to do this more in a form of a lecture, which I normally don't do, so please read along with me or listen along with me, and then we can later on discuss and see whether we can interact. Also, I'm going to use the word business leaders a lot. Please, ladies and gentlemen, think back of what did we say is leadership. Leadership is a mindset. Leadership is absolutely something inside you. It does not depend on a position. So the content of this is absolutely geared at every single one of us. And that means whether we are a tea lady or whether we are a CEO, it absolutely speaks to all of us. Please use my usage of business leader in that light. All right, let's have a look. Human resource departments had a difficult job prior to the pandemic. In 2019, more than 50% of business leaders struggled to ensure that employees had the skills necessary to navigate an increasingly digitized workplace. But admittedly, this future of work had always seemed a safe distance ahead, far enough at least to thoughtfully prepare for the company. I can't read this now. Let me just put it up a bit. Far enough at least to thoughtfully prepare for. The company HPWP Group has been leading discussions surrounding the future of work and how it impacts professionals for the past 15 years. We can tell you that COVID-19 has changed the playing field. Today, business leaders are working around the clock, taking unprecedented measures to keep their employees safe and ensure that their organizations survive. They are navigating furloughs, layoffs, reduction of labor force. They are adjusting to mass remote work. Let me just get that down here. Okay. To mass remote work, sorry, my computer is giving, now I've got this better here. Sorry for this. They are adjusting to mass remote work. They are creating business continuity plans, drafting emergency communication procedures, and preventing the spread of germs. Let's turn to the next page. All of these issues are being addressed through a familiar process, defining the problem, addressing the variables that make it complicated, and agreeing on the best way forward. But when we consider that today's greatest challenges are ones that many leaders have never faced before, it becomes clear that they are not just complicated and thus predictable, but they are complex, that is unknown. Traditional problem solving, which is aimed at addressing the complicated as opposed to the complex, will not establish the most effective solutions. As we've seen through our work, many business teams aim to resolve issues by developing new policies and procedures. Unfortunately, once created, those same policies are rarely revisited, ultimately leading to additional problems, especially now when the landscape is changing so fast. At the same time, a one-size-fits-all approach won't allow for the kind of individual thinking and creativity that result in the most innovative solutions. To be truly effective in this new normal, then, we believe business leaders need to adjust and develop a new core capability, and that is a complexity mindset. Ladies and no, there's maybe no gentleman listening to us. We cannot manage and navigate the crisis at present through procedures and policies. We've got to change our mindset to that of leadership, a complexity mindset, dealing with challenges as they come, dealing with individual people and the workforce as they come, as they appear. We cannot go through with grievance procedures and disciplinary cases. The crisis is really calling for unprecedented interaction and communication. That's what leadership is all about. And that is the new normal. And that is something that was very, very, very important before the crisis came, when we talked about the new leadership into the 21st century. But it is really being put to the test right now. So how do we do that? Shifting from complicated to complex. This mindset change requires shifting away from complicated thinking and embracing a complexity consciousness. Simply stated, complicated problems require linear thinking. They can often be predicted or avoided and can benefit from expert input. We've experienced this kind of problem solving time and again. It is familiar. In stark contrast, what we are faced now, complex problems live in the realm of the unknown. There are no best practices to solve complex problems because we've never experienced them before and therefore could not have predicted them. In this framework, it's crucial to tap into your organization's collective intelligence, prioritize company values, and allow solutions to emerge. That means taking in the opinions and the creativity of your workforce. This means that business leaders will need to start collaborating more with employees at every level. Now is the time to focus on interpersonal relationships rather than control, standards, and hierarchy. Adopting a complexity mindset starts by accepting that complexity exists and needs to be accounted for differently. Here's how business leaders can embrace this mindset. Tap into the power of collective intelligence. When complex problems arrive, don't overlook your most valuable resource, the genius of your own employees. The majority of the workforce consists of smart, trustworthy people who know their jobs better than their leaders do. Given everything on business leaders' plates today, they will not succeed if they don't trust their employees to help them brainstorm solutions for remote work accommodation, continued engagement, and additional support. In other words, they won't succeed if they don't embrace collective intelligence. Collective intelligence is group intelligence that emerges from the collaboration, efforts, and engagement of diverse teams. Thus, we in Namibia are perfectly geared for this. We must just embrace it, we must engage, and we must implement. Diverse teams, we are all diverse. In his book, The Wisdom of Crowds, journalist and writer James Surowiecki states that collective intelligence needs 4 conditions to flourish. Number 1, diversity of opinion to guard against groupthink. Independent thinking that frees each person to express their own opinions without judgment or pressure to conform. 3, decentralization, which means that the closer a person is to the problem or the customer, the likelier they offer a meaningful contribution. And 4thly, a good method for aggregating results. Leaders need to learn the mechanics of harnessing collective intelligence with their teams. It requires excellent facilitation skills, clear parameters, and lots of flip charts and yellow sticky notes. Teams love it because they get to share real, meaningful input on important issues. The results are innovative ideas, diversity of thought, with alignment, paradoxically, and walking away with stronger teams. To accomplish this, however, HR teams first needed to flatten the hierarchy and invite team members outside of their departments to share their ideas around how to best communicate with new team members. We must all get off our horse of thinking that we know it better. We don't. If we don't do this together, if we do not stand together, if we don't brainstorm this crisis together, we will not survive. By promoting engagement between diverse workers and departments, companies can overcome obstacles that initially seem overwhelming or unsurmountable. Put the humanity back into human resources. For an excellent example of complicated versus complex, consider performance management. Management, not appraisal. Traditional thinking is that employee behavior must be guided by the rules of compliance. This mindset translates into a culture of bureaucracy, rules, policies, and practices for every bad apple ever encountered. To make matters worse, everyone is continuously reminded to treat everyone the same, which, given that every person, every situation is different, results in a lack of fairness and good judgment. Now that's interesting, right? Because we've always said, be consistent, be fair. Yes, fair, but you have to engage with people. You've got to lead people. And leadership is empathy. Leadership is homing in. Leadership is reaching out. Leadership is making fair and trustworthy decisions on an individual basis, because we cannot manage like we used to, because the times are different. And then we turn to the next page. Bureaucracy and fairness are simple solutions that won't solve complex problems. For a case in point, consider the video game company Activision Blizzard. Their HR leaders were forced to confront just how inflexible their remote work policy was when faced with the reality of COVID-19. Parents balancing work and childcare and employees managing health concerns weren't properly accommodated. Instead of sticking to rigid rules, the company implemented quick solutions like flexible hours and remote system access to support their employees in ways they had never considered before. Complexity-conscious HR leaders or business leaders view company performance as, sorry for that, as the result of open and clear communication, positive assumptions, and self-management. Instead of taking a matrix approach, aligning infraction with corresponding punishment, communicate with your teams about the specific problem and the impact. An approach that uses emotional intelligence will lead to increased productivity and higher engagement levels. And there we have it. For the last 2 years at least, if not more, I've been preaching about emotional intelligence. We heard about emotional intelligence. We've got courses. I have a course. It's called Emotional Intelligence for the 21st Century. Emotional intelligence boils down to nothing short but leadership. So let's quickly recap what emotional intelligence is. Number one, self-awareness. Self-awareness starting with yourself. Know who you are. Know in what situation you are. It's called awareness. You all know that how important the word awareness is for me. Know who you are. Know what is going on around you, and know how you are responding to that. Because if we know how we respond to a crisis, if we know how we respond to the present situation can we understand and help other people, those that we are leading, those that we are coaching, those that are dependent on us, to lead themselves through this crisis and through these unprecedented times and through this time of absolute uncertainty. Know when you are tired, you're not functioning so well when you are tired or frustrated or angry. In other words, you have to first manage your own emotions, your own frustrations, or even happiness or hope or positivity before you can start to manage and lead others. Because only when we are self-aware can we self-control. If we can't self-control, we are impulsively, constantly reacting to inputs and elements that impact on us. Now just go to Facebook for the moment. What is being published on Facebook at the moment is unbelievable. And yes, it has an impact. And you need to learn to filter, to think about it, to reflect, and then to control your thinking. Otherwise, those elements will start to control you. And then it controls your brain, and then it controls your thinking, and then it controls your inner development and growth, because it controls your brain. And we become negative, and we become hopeless and despondent. And that is what I look at you at this stage, all of you, and I expect and implore you to go out there to the society and help as much as you can, not just in your workplace, but also in your communities and societies. This morning, we heard that a 9-year-old little girl hung herself because she couldn't take the situations anymore. Become leaders right here, right now. Make the choice. The third one is obviously empathy. Please remember, a big part of our emotional intelligence is our empathy. The understanding, a deep understanding where the other person comes from. That doesn't mean sympathy. It doesn't help anybody at this stage if we basically cry with someone, although we feel like that. Empathy is, I understand, let's breathe, let's settle down, and let's quietly and calmly explore what we can do about it. What are the solutions I have to path the way forward? Motivation, very important part of emotional intelligence. If I can't motivate myself, if I can't smile and look into the day and say, let's go, we're going to go past it, together we are strong, we'll get there. How can we motivate others? All right? So start with these elements. Please write them down. Assess yourself on all these different categories. Those are the 5 competencies that show you how good you are in emotional intelligence and ultimately in a leadership position. Social skills is nothing but communication, engagement, and relationships. If you go back into the PowerPoint presentation up to now, what did we talk? What did we hear? Engagement, talk, ask questions, find out, get input, and then let's go on to find a beautiful new way of leading with beautiful new solutions. Now that takes us to the next one, and that slide on my computer says time for questions and comments. So I'm giving back to Desiree and the team to see whether we can get any of these comments going.
You're more than welcome to chat with Sabina and ask some questions. And as you do with your normal Zoom videos, you can just ask your questions. I don't have it on the screen, Quentin, where people can post their questions.
I've got it on the screen, on the side. If you go into chat.
You got it.
Something coming, Desiree?
No, not yet.
Not yet? Anybody maybe can they talk to us? Is that possible?
They can chat and ask questions. There's nothing coming in. Well, while we're waiting, Sabina, there's you know, for me, going through this whole lockdown situation, being a mother, and obviously my children are big already, but you know, the response that I get from everybody out there, from women specifically, is that they have the additional burden now, apart from working, is to educate the children, because the children can't go to schools, and also cleaning their own homes, because they you know, they people that used to work for them can't come to their houses. So it's again the thing where women, we don't delegate, and we don't get someone else to help us while we're doing this, going through this whole process, specifically with the education. I mean, there are so many now unemployed, and we spoke about that. The whole hospitality industry has basically been retrenched. To get people that can help you and make small groups and get children together and help the mothers to teach their children. And I'm certain there's a lot of possibilities and solutions to these things, but those are just added burdens that we face, specifically women face at this stage. I don't know what your feeling is about that.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, it's and as you said the other day when we were talking, it seems that it is actually the women who have, and by all means, I don't want to discredit men and what they are going through at this stage, but it seems as if it is once again us that, and our children obviously, that seem to be carrying the burden, the brunt of all this. I mean, having 3 children that you have to homeschool, what concerns me a bit is that there were so many people screaming and shouting and shut the schools. And I have listened to a study, an international study this morning, and they said this whole crisis has such an impact on children that there are, most countries in this world are doing one thing, and they say, if whatever we have to do, we won't shut down the schools again, just to take that burden off the mothers, of the single parents, which boil down to what, 70% of everybody in Namibia. So we need to be strong. We need to go through these things. And I, for instance, had a request where they asked me whether we couldn't start a self-help group for teenagers. So if that happens, I will definitely, through you, Desiree, we will spread the emails, the whatever, even if we do it through this media of speaking to each other. I think this is going to be important for all of us, and we need to do more.
I've just got a question here that someone asked, how do we do emotional intelligence when business environment's so disrupted? And I completely agree with this, because I really feel that I not only lose my social skills, but total emotional intelligence with all these added stresses that we're under the whole day, every day now. So this is the question for you. How do you do this?
I see that question. The point is, emotional intelligence is not an extra. Emotional intelligence is the leadership that we have to display right now. And you are in a leadership position. So that is, those 4 competencies strengthen you. Obviously, you put your IQ, but IQ alone we cannot solve this, because, as I said, it is a complex situation where we need complex answers. And through social skills is nothing else than the ability to reach out to people. Social skills is communicating to people on an individual basis, creating a relationship, and through that, you will lead through the crisis. There is no other answer than this.
Okay, it seems that there are no more questions at this stage. As it comes through, we can ask, we can carry on with that. So I think you want to take a short break? Are you okay to carry on?
I think we can carry on. Let us carry on because I never know how long the Wi-Fi holds here. And as long as we are connected, I would like to carry on.
Okay, by all means, carry on.
Okay, so there we go. In practice, this means that when a team or employee comes to you with a problem, probe for the underlying cause instead of jumping to a rule book solution. There you got it, right? If you probe for the underlying cause, you're putting your empathy and your social skills, so your emotional intelligence, into action instead of going back to rules and practices and policies which are unhinged at the moment because of the situation. Am I making sense here? Ask open-ended questions such as, what is holding you back? Or how would you handle this? Throughout, assume that the vast majority of employees are good people who will want to solve a problem once it's brought to their attention. Now you're free to facilitate a lasting solution rather than dispensing discipline or dispense advice. Ladies, stop with the advice. Help people to help themselves. How do you help people to help themselves? By asking open-ended questions, as in, what is your solution? What could you do? How can you handle that? And you will be surprised with how much creativity and insight people will find solutions, both for their private lives and their professional lives, if they own the solution. Nobody asked you to provide all the answers. That is the core message of this whole session. This is the core message of the previous slides. Let people help you also to make better informed decisions by asking them for what they think. That's why I keep on saying rule books and policies and procedures will not solve the human crisis that we are in, right? Do not offer advice. Coach the people, and coaching is nothing else than helping people to help themselves, finding solutions that are best for them, because a solution you have for your life or your situation may not one that counts for me or my life or my environment. Foster a trust culture. Communication is honesty, honest communication, and honest communication is trust. Foster a trust culture. As we navigate our current landscape, we need trust to serve as our foundation in order to create teams comfortable grappling together with the unknown. We are all in here together. That's why we need to create trust. And trust you can only create through emotional intelligence. You cannot create trust by using your IQ alone, your intelligence. You've got to add your emotional intelligence. So much has been written about the need for organizations to improve communication, recognize employees, and practice transparency. But real change has been slow. As this crisis unfolds, it's my hope that organizations will see the benefits of creating respectful, trusting workplaces and act with more urgency than before to implement leadership for the 21st century, because that's what we're talking about. From an employee perspective, consider that more than 60% of workers say senior management employee trust is paramount to their satisfaction. That's because high trust environments allow people to be their true selves. And when people can bring their whole selves to work, they are not only creative, but they are also more productive. Building a high trust culture starts with cultivating positive beliefs about employees. Very, very difficult in an environment that we foster in Namibia, and that's the environment of negativity. So let me go back. Building a high trust culture starts with cultivating positive beliefs about employees, because assumptions drive behavior. If you assume your employees work hard, care about the company's success, and have integrity, they are likelier to act accordingly as long as they know what's expected of them. Communication. Get culture right is crucial across all levels of business at any time, but it is particularly important in times of crisis. Diane Adams, Chief Culture and Talent Officer at Spring, can't pronounce that word, recently wrote, "When we are happy, we are at our best personally and professionally, and everybody wins." For business leaders, this means rewarding exceptional performance with public recognition and individual growth opportunities, encouraging employee autonomy by letting workers set their own habits and mold their roles, and fostering transparency through open communication and evolving relationships. The goal is to develop leader-employee relationships based on genuineness and vulnerability, and debunk the notion that managers should keep their distance from a personal standpoint. Business leaders who adopt a complexity-conscious mindset recognize that trust is key to getting through this present crisis. Thankfully, many realize this and have already begun to build cultures of trustworthy. Edelman research shows that people trust their employers more than the government or media when it comes to coronavirus-related communication. And that's a strong point here. Think about it. I think I am too much. Is that the right one, Desiree? Make your company values foundational. Have we got that one? Yeah. Fear and panic give rise to knee-jerking reactions during crisis. Even progressive organizations backslide to traditional thinking. And that goes back to what I've been asked just now. Don't go back into the old-fashioned management principles of 1990 or 1950. They do not hold. And I've been trying to prove that with this presentation all the time. Sadly, under great amounts of pressure, it's not unusual to see leaders of all kinds, including HR teams, making autocratic decisions without regard to their impact on employees. Moving forward, business leaders can help fight this instinct by putting a greater focus on demonstrating fairness and a passion for their people. And passion for their people is empathy, and empathy is part of emotional intelligence. Adopting a mindset of complexity means returning to the values of the company and allowing those values to become a filter for decision-making in high-pressure situations. Every successful company has a set of fundamental beliefs upon which the business and its behavior are based. But too often, they are words on a wall when they should be the very basis for how the organization executes its mission during good times and bad times. This one concept has the potential to profoundly transform organizations. 88% of employees believe that a positive work culture is the result of a value and mission-orientated foundation. And now, ladies, see how important it is at the moment in your businesses and organizations, big or small, wherever you are, to start to lead, to start to foster this positive work culture. And you can only do that with emotional intelligence, with your leadership skills, not with policies and procedures. How do you use your values as a guide for decisions? Here are some questions to guide you based on commonly held values. How do you use your values as a guide for decisions? Here are some, oh, sorry, that's twice. Sorry for that, that's my fault. Value. The value is communication. You can ask the following questions. What information do we or could we share that would increase transparency? What information do employees need and want? What information would make employees feel more involved? Because if they're involved, they engage. For them to be engaged, you've got to engage with them.
Sabina, just
another value is trust. Sorry?
Move your screen so we can see you. I can only...
Like that?
Yes, thank you.
Sorry? Okay. Another value is trust. Questions to consider. If we had trust in the vast majority of employees, what would we do differently? What is getting in the way of trust? What personal behaviors can we demonstrate that would help build even more trust? That is a crucial question, and you can only answer it yourself. And maybe one day when we're all together again, these are the questions we're going to go into again and get deeper in. By the way, if you have personal questions and you don't have a possibility to do this in this platform, please send them to Desiree or to myself or to both of us, and we can answer to you individually. Another value is employee engagement. Questions to consider. To what extent are employees affected by the situation? What experience or knowledge do they have that will be valuable regarding this topic? Have we made some topics taboo for employee engagement, and what assumptions are forcing the taboo? People do not feel free to speak. People are afraid of making mistakes. People are afraid of being seen as idiots or as non-performers if they ask questions. Foster this environment in which people are free to ask and even to utter their fear if need be in the time of crisis, and maybe even beyond that, right? Stop the culture of fear that is really raging in our country right now. What other questions can you think of to foster these company values? Value is the potential to serve, but that's just a little picture there. I don't know, but Desiree, what do you think? Should we give them a few minutes to maybe add another question to foster this communication, or shall we carry on based on limited time?
We just wait and see if there's any questions.
Okay.
I was just thinking of, the whole thing with control. And, with the lockdown, it's all external control. I mean, I want to compare it to when we started with the AIDS pandemic. And that was, at the end of the day, the only way you can protect yourself is by your own self-control and your own behavior.
Exactly.
Same with this virus. So your behavior will determine, how infectious, in what area you are or whatever. Because as we had with AIDS, we had people purposely going out there infecting other people. The only way you can really protect yourself is by your own behavior and your own choices that you make. And That's why we shouldn't fear going out there, because it depends on what you do, where you go, and how you act in this situation. I don't know if
Exactly, and it is, I think what makes it extremely difficult for all of us, and where you've got to grow bigger than you are in your companies and organizations, is that we at this stage are so helpless against a control from the outside. Remember, what you think and your attitude cannot be controlled. Nobody controls that. It's a bit harder to foster a positivity there at the moment, but it can be done.
yes, most certainly. There are no questions coming, Sabina. So
okay, I think we then carry on. Okay, so yes, applying this approach yields other powerful benefits as well. Using your values as a filter means less stress, more time, better results. In fact, B corporations, that's the name of a company, which commit to more, or the companies that go into that direction, which commit to more than just profitability or growth, are 63% more likely to survive the pandemic than similar sized businesses. So they have implemented what we've been talking about. And it's good for us if we could take small steps in that. Whatever position you work in, remember that your role, always, but especially today, is to be your company's moral conscience. I know leaders in major companies who are willing to step up and challenge their organizations to act in alignment with their values. This can and should be your role too. Adopting a complexity mindset will help you fulfill it. It means, however, that you commit to communicating and engaging with absolutely every staff member of your company or organization. It's time to change for the better, forever. Okay, here are just 5 tips for communicating with employees during a crisis. That will be the last part of our presentation and time together, but so please bear with me. I'm sorry that I'm speaking so much, but this is how it is at the moment. Every leader knows that communication during a crisis is critical. When leaders communicate, again, leaders, we are all leaders, whether we are tea ladies or sitting on the farm or wherever we are at the moment, we are leading. When leaders communicate with urgency, transparency, and empathy, urgency, transparency, and empathy, it helps people adjust to the constantly changing conditions crises bring. A tone of urgency encourages people to make quick decisions to mitigate harm. Transparency builds trust in leaders and conveys respect for employees by implicitly recognizing them as capable of coping with what is being shared. And showing empathy and conveying a compelling message of hope can foster resilience in facing the challenges that lie ahead. Yet beyond these basic recommendations, there's a scant empirical research on what to communicate to employees amid a crisis. As a result, most executives probably cannot answer the following question. Now that we are several months into the crisis, how are your employees feeling about your organization's response to the pandemic? There were 5 key takeaways for leaders, which we describe below on descending order of their importance in influencing employee satisfaction with their employers, with how their employers are dealing with them during the pandemic. This has been researched. This is not something we just came up with. Communicate frequently. I need to tell you that I've been watching a lot of international TV lately to keep abreast of what is really happening in the world and trying to give you the best insights that I can share. But what, for instance, Germany has done and still does since the crisis really struck in March, the big leaders, the top leaders, the information ministries, the education ministry, the chancellor and the president of the country are talking to their citizens on a daily basis. so that everybody is informed. They are not trying to soft soap. They are not using this for political reasons. They are there in an urgent way, in a transparent way, but with a lot of empathy. And that is why they said, we're not locking down again. We are opening up. They talk and talk and talk to their people. They engage on a daily basis. So if that is not being done with us, don't worry. You can start that in your organizations, in your businesses from today. Please engage your people. Most leaders need to communicate to staff far more often than they think is necessary. Frequent communication reduces fear and uncertainty and ensures that employees have heard the message. While leaders may experience fatigue from repeating core messages, they need to realize team members need to hear these messages multiple times. Different people may need to hear messages in different ways and through different channels. Please, you need to hone and improve your communication skills. You can read the next part by yourself. I'd like us to go to the next slide. Provide safe channels for giving feedback. As I said just now, some employees are really ruled and governed by fear. And the fear is even bigger now. And they feel that they sound incompetent, or they sound not good enough if they give feedback about how they feel and what is going on and about their anxieties. So provide safe channels, one-on-one meetings, reaching out to the HR, talking to senior leaders, right? All this, or you can even start with anonymous suggestion channels. The last chapter, finally, leaders must periodically report what they are hearing from this feedback, sharing careful summaries of the questions, the concerns, and follow-up actions will increase trust in leadership. So you see how communication and the safe channels feed back into create an environment of trust. I don't know how far you have been exposed to this. Help employees work at home effectively. Also, please, you will have this information, work through this one. It is very imperative that we keep an overall feeling of this is our business, this is us, even if our employees work from home. I think Desiree can tell us more about that. They've been using this system successfully for, I think, over a year now. So maybe you want to share some of your experiences with us, Desiree?
Well, I think the publishing industry was at the forefront of the whole technological revolution, and we already made the change over to a new business model by the end of 2016, beginning 2017, where the Economist went completely online from then. And we've been working like that. So work-wise, this pandemic has not impacted on the Economist and in how we work. What did happen was because of the lockdown and how it affected other businesses, that it affected our income stream. But yes, for our employees, certainly now with the pandemic, we've got certain procedures in place for hygiene and all that, which we didn't have previously, which we do. But we already did that whole transformation. And I'm very happy to say that it was very difficult to go through that period of time. And we were all alone on our own when we did all that. And people couldn't really understand why we took this leap. But it now was the right decision, which I'm very pleased about that we did do a thing. And we're doing well in that sense, that it's not impacted. We didn't have to retrench anybody or cut salaries or anything like that. But we were ready for this whole situation or for this whole change. And I think people need to realize that this is now the new norm. It's not going to go back to where we were. Everybody And I want to really stress and put the message out there that companies should not, and people should not propagate this whole thing of stay home, stay safe. I mean, NTC puts that on my phone, and I really get so angry, because stay safe, yes, but work and be productive. You cannot, because of this, not be productive, not work, because we still have responsibilities. You just need to put measures in place. Get somebody to help with the teaching of your children and share the household duties, etc. But you need to carry on being productive, still reaching out to everybody, be connected, communicate on the same level. Just do it differently, and it's never going to go back to where it was. Because I walk down the street and I see businesses closing down on a daily basis, which breaks my heart. And this is not the pandemic, this is the lockdown that's causing this.
Exactly. Thank you for that. So what we heard there is we can help, we can work remotely and still feel we as a company, right? That doesn't mean we're never going to engage with each other anymore, right? But in order not to close down, we've got to also think back of this, what we've been saying for the last hour, so that we lead differently, so that we survive this. And whatever it takes, we're going to implement and lead through it. All right. Address concerns about job security. You see, what is important here is also honesty. Airbnb in May already announced that there will be layoffs. And you know what? It's tough news, but it was timely and it was frank. So it did not interfere with the people's psychology of terms of, I constantly fear. They knew that there was retrenchments to come, and the company then went on and helped them find alternatives. I'm not saying that we hope that this is going to happen, but in a way we know that's going to happen. Trust is also honest, but then also display the empathy and a deep understanding of what it means for people if they would lose their job. And then help them with networks, help them with where can they get a small loan, help them with ideas, right? You have to do so much more right now than just your work. And that's why I call you business leaders. All right. And in the same time, we will also have to provide a plan for the future. Undoubtedly related to employees' worries about their own job. If we can get them in and say, if we all adhere to the standards, as Desiree was saying, if we are going to cut costs, but if we're putting in double performance and better attitude, then we will get this company through. And then there is a future, because they're the first signs. If we look at the international forexes, they are already starting to improve. So the economy will bounce back, but it will take an enormous human effort. And I hope that we have helped you a little bit in this effort today. Given how quickly and drastically the pandemic has changed people's personal and work lives and all the uncertainty that lies ahead, people are looking to their leaders more than ever for guidance and support. As a leader, what you say and how you convey it will play a significant part in determining how your organizations perform during these difficult times and after. So there you go, Superwoman. Go and get us, and we will meet in the nearby future, I'm sure. And with that, Desiree and everybody out there, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sabina, for sharing all of that with us. And I certainly made me feel a lot better. I don't know about you out there. Thank you so much. As always, you're very uplifting with your messages. And enjoy your weekend on the farm. And once the 2 weeks are done, we'll meet up and we'll see one another again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everybody that's joined us this afternoon, thank you for joining us. Also, I will send out an email to give you the link to the recording It will be available on our website. The new platform that we've established, economist.today, where all the new webinars will be hosted. We also starting a whole series in collaboration with Standard Bank, and this is totally geared towards the SME market, of how to start a business, how to run it, and why you should do it, and all the ins and outs. Please watch out for those emails. I'll be sending it out, and you're welcome to share with colleagues and friends or anybody that you think would benefit from our videos. Thank you so much, and goodbye.
God bless.
Thank you.